How do we know does he say go? Oh, let me just put it in the chat. Oh, we are live now. Okay. Hey, everyone. Good evening. My name is Stephanie Craybill. I am the chair of the Family Communications Committee, and welcome to our first meeting in a long time. This is I'm just going to call it like our restart meeting. We're going to use a format that is a little bit different than we normally do. Because I really wanted our committee to set our format and have some input into that. So what I thought we would do tonight is we've had a major change, reorganization in our communications and outreach department, and I wanted them all to introduce themselves so you could see who they are and learn more about what they do. And so I think you saw in the agenda that was posted that we're basically going to talk about the reorganization and goals for the communication department. And if we have people here that are interested in making comments with their voice or in the chat on some recommendations for goals that we might want to start talking about. And then we don't have to decide anything tonight, but we can certainly be looking forward to doing that next month. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to our is it the Chief Communications Officer or Chief Information Officer, Josh Smith.
Yeah. Thank you, Ms. Craybill. Appreciate that. Welcome. I'm going to attempt to share my screen here with presentation. Maybe. So technical difficulties. It's not going to let me share the screen without quitting. So Caress, is it something that you can share?
I will share, yes.
Okay, thank you for that.
While we're doing that, I wanted to direct your attention to in the chat, go there and you can see a Google Drive that is going to have a place for you to add questions, comments, anything like that. So we'll get back to that, but I just wanted to draw your attention to that. So in case you're making notes, as we're going.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks for pulling that up, Caress, and thank you for the introduction, Ms. Craybill. So again, my name is Josh Smith. I'm the Chief Communications Officer here for New Hanover County Schools, and just want to take the opportunity, as she said, to really kind of hit reset on the committee, or at least provide introductions for what we've been able to achieve in the past 3 months or so. And so I think the last committee meeting was somewhere around February, and where there were very few folks in communications and outreach. Now we have a few more. And so I want to take the opportunity to kind of introduce the team and what we're doing and how we are, what I like to say is professionalizing communications and outreach. And that's far reaching in its overarching, and it's good media relationships. It's social media strategy, it's website optimization, it's great outreach, it's marketing in support of our HR hiring efforts, and a million other things. And so fantastic work being helmed by a team of 7 now, where I think it was a team of far less than that. So we're really excited to have the right people in the right places. So without further ado, Chris, next slide, please. Okay, so this is us, Communication and Outreach Division. Currently there are 7, we'll soon have 1 addition. So again, I'm Josh. Just a brief background on me. I just retired from the Marine Corps, where I spent a little over 21 years, and a little over half of that was in communication strategy. It was called Communication Strategy and Operations, or Public Affairs, but it's media relations, it's PR, it's brand management, understanding stakeholders, communication methodology, crisis communication, fiercely protecting the brand and the reputation of an institution and an organization, ensuring websites are in compliance and uniform, social media strategy, media relationships. And so that's sort of energy and synergy. sought to and continue to seek to bring to what we're trying to accomplish here in New Hanover County Schools. And so I'm excited. I'm excited about what we've been able to do. And I did look, it's been 80 days today. So 80 days in, I'll give you a 100-day report, but I think we've been able to accomplish quite a lot. I'm incredibly proud of what we've been able to do and what the team's doing. And I think most of them are on the line. And if they, I'll introduce them, but I really want to, you can see the slide, but if they're available and willing, I want them to talk about what they do because they do it so well. So that's me. Russell, are you available to, because I'll brag on you if not, but if you're available, Russell's the media relations manager. Russell, over to you to talk about your day-to-day.
Yeah, hi, Josh. Thanks for the introduction. I'm Russell Clark, New Hanover County Schools Media Relations Manager. Prior to joining New Hanover County Schools, I was a TV reporter with WECT, so I do have some experience in working with the media and being a part of the media, so I understand what they're looking for. And kind of my day-to-day operation is working with the media, pitching them stories, those good feel-good stories, and answering some of those questions that they may have, and trying to provide as much context and working with Josh and the rest of the team to be able to answer the questions and work with the media as best as possible. I also am in charge of handling public record requests and trying to, filter those, complete those, as well as some other tasks that we all work together on.
Thanks, Russell. Appreciate it. Caress, I'm gonna do cringy introduction. You guys are gonna get on to me later, but Caress she is the right hand. She is the hammer. She has many names, but she keeps the train on the tracks. I couldn't do this without her. I very much appreciate everything she does. Caress, over to you.
Welcome guys for everyone's here. I am Caress Clegg, as Josh said. I serve as the administrative assistant, or hammer as I like to call myself, for our division. I do a little bit of everything, helping to make sure that we are all running and operating on all cylinders. I work with Christina and Sandra and Chase and Kevin with helping to just really engage and reach out to our stakeholders, whether they be internal or external, to ensure we're telling our story. I work with Dr. Faust and running and kind of managing his advisory committees, and making sure that we are including all stakeholder voices and what Josh always likes to say, what right looks like. So making sure we're doing that for the district. Kind of just handle a little bit of everything, and I'm all over the place. So glad to be with the team and glad to have so many other great people joining us here.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it. Next up is Christina Beam. If you've read a Facebook post or heard a speech and you got a little misty, Christina's the soul, the heart and soul and voice of the district, and she does a fantastic job communicating, feeling into the products that we put out. And wow, just wow. So Christina, over to you.
That's a high pressure intro. Yeah, I'm Christina Beam, new to this position in July, and the position is new to the district. Marketing specialist to me is really has a strong storytelling and narrative component, and sort of taking control of the narrative and sharing the good things happening in our school district. So that is sort of refining or defining, I guess, our brand identity, graphic design, like Josh said, writing, feature stories, photography, kind of anything that that would fall under that storytelling umbrella. Before I moved here about 5 years ago, I was a teacher assistant at Alderman for 3 years, and have been involved in PTAs in our district for the last 5 years. And then before that, I spent about 10 years in communication with K-12 school districts and in higher ed. And then before that, I was an education reporter. So I kind of come at this from a lot of different angles, and I'm really excited to be part of our team.
Thanks, Christina.
And Josh, if I could interject 1 second there, I did for those who either are listening now or who will go back and be listening to the replay, especially you PTA folks that are on the call with us. I just wanted to let you know that I am hoping that your PTAs will strike up a relationship with Christina, so that we are we are all telling the same story, and we can support each other in our stories. You guys are doing so many good things at your school, at the school level, and we want to share those, back out to the community. And we would hope that you would, help us, maybe serve as ambassadors, if you will, of sharing the New Hanover County Schools message, so that we can all be operating on good, timely, accurate information. So, Christina, after your big intro, I've got more expectations too. So, I'm welcome.
All right, next up is Sandra Sarmiento. So big job here. She helms the volunteer program. She's our community engagement specialist. She is out in the community. She's talking to nonprofits. She's talking to the Latino community. She does translations. Really big, important job that Sandra does, and she does it brilliantly. Sandra, over to you.
Well, you kind of summed it up for me, Josh. So yeah, my day-to-day always looks very different. It can be from translations at different levels, schools, administrative, to interpretations with a parent who is trying to enroll their child and needs that assistance. So I assist our families, I assist our community, I assist our staff members in the school, and I'm very excited to be able to support a little bit of everybody in every area, because I come from 15 years of working with Head Start, and they have an all-encompassing motto. And so I am a big advocate for our families.
And very much needed, very much appreciated. And you guys, parents and community, you will be seeing much more of our information, if you haven't already noticed, in the Spanish format, so that more of our parents can be included in that timely and accurate information flow. So yay, Sandra. Hola.
All right, so Chase Fulton up next. I'll introduce him. I don't know if we can turn it over without breaking something. So Chase is in the back. If you've seen any of these transmissions, if you've seen anything on YouTube, Chase is the one. He's doing the broadcast. He's doing programming. He's creative. He does photography. He's fantastically talented, and he keeps everything running. Chase, do you have the ability to come on without breaking the broadcast here?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I sure can. Go ahead.
Yeah, so like Josh was saying, I just do a lot of the video work, live streaming, programming our live channel, helping out in schools and in our community, helping get kind of working alongside everybody in promoting the school district to our constituents, and then also assisting schools with whatever video, audio, live stream help they need. And I work alongside Kevin, who does a lot of that, but is a much better video editor and videographer. So Kevin.
Well, let me brag on Kevin for a second. So Kevin's, he and I got here around the same time. So we're kind of new. Actually, we're all kind of new to the team, but Kevin has an absolutely impressive portfolio. He's incredibly creative. If you've seen the NHCS recap, it's a team effort, but he certainly helms a lot of it. He does amazing work. He's a fantastic photographer and videographer. He's doing drone work. He's getting above the schools, and he's really helping out in a creative way that was much needed. So Kevin, over to you.
Wow, thank you. I don't really know how to follow that, but thank you. But yeah, I think for me, I just moved here about 4 or 5 months ago from Tallahassee. There I worked with the city, and a lot of the stuff that we're doing here is just great. I mean, I love this team. It's really nice just to come here and just we're able to pass the ball and just keep going. So I think they did a really good job explaining the things that I do, but I'm really excited to work with this team and see what we can do to help everyone else and what we can do to help out and really keep going.
Thanks, Kevin. And Ms. Crable, thanks for the opportunity to
drone work. I didn't know we were doing drone work. This is awesome. We're really in the 21st century.
Yes, we've got some drone footage. It's really great. It's cathartic. You should watch. We'll send you a drone video, and It's nice and mellow. You'll love it.
Thank you.
But Ms. Crable, thanks for the opportunity to introduce the team. I think it's important that folks see and hear from the folks kind of behind the curtain a little bit, because I mean, this work spans beyond just the social media aspect or beyond just the media aspect. We talk a lot about, are we measuring the right things? Are we supporting in the right way? Are we supporting family communication in the right way? The 45 schools, are they set up in such a way that they feel supported in their communication endeavors? And so this team has accomplished a lot in the past couple of months, and we're just getting started. So really, very excited to have the opportunity to introduce them and hear from them, and in some cases see their faces. So thanks for that. Anything from you, Ms. Crable? Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to I'm just still overwhelmed with the talent pool that we have pulled together to cover so many of the aspects of communication that we've and I'm just going to say out loud that we've struggled with, but this to me shows a clear indication that we are ready to move forward in a positive direction and getting the right information out. And so that's where this committee comes into play, so that we can provide feedback to the communications department. Or like Josh said, are we communicating the right things in the right format, in a manner that you can see and respond to? So yeah, so everybody listen up, and we're gonna need your input. So that's all. Next for you, Josh.
Okay, all right, next slide, please, Caress. Okay, so I just want to introduce, I mean, some of this may be intuitive, but introduce the communication tools. And this really is how I look at all of the things that we can use to communicate. They're tools. So social media is a tool. Our media partners are a tool. The website is a tool. And the challenge is to optimize the appropriate use of all of these tools to ensure that our various stakeholders have timely, accurate, relevant information that they need when they need it. And so I'll just do a brief introduction to the tools themselves and then talk about the utilization case a bit. So I'll introduce School Messenger if you haven't heard of it. School Messenger, it's a fairly ubiquitous messaging system used by large districts in the country. It's not the only one. It's one of the larger ones. And we did bring this online over the summer. So I think previously it was a system called Connect 5. And then just prior to my arrival, School Messenger came online. And so admittedly, we are still optimizing. We're working out some kinks. There's a data manager aspect to getting the information right. And there's been a bit of growing pains, which we're working through laboriously. But School Messenger, what it allows us to do is be as hyper broad or as specific as we need to in communicating with our stakeholders. So for example, if we need to send messages just to one school or 3 schools in a geographic area, we can do that. If it's just a bus route, we can do that. So the level of specificity provided by School Messenger, again, tool in the toolkit that allows us to communicate with our families and with our students. And there's an email, a phone, and text component to that. And so again, we're 92%, I think, efficient in terms of getting that thing fixed. It has been tough, but we're getting there. Next would be social media. And this is kind of obvious, but it may not be obvious that we don't do the exact same thing on every single platform. So the district does maintain Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube specifically. And then we're looking at optimizing LinkedIn for HR efforts as well. But I will just highlight that that Facebook content may be amplified on Instagram or YouTube or Twitter, or it may not be. So we know, just based off of data, that the majority of our internal stakeholders are on Facebook. So most of the information is going to come out there. We're going to optimize it for that platform. And we then follow through with the data, with the metrics. Generally, when we post something, I don't want to misinterpret the data here, but just any given post will garner between, I'd say on average, about 8,000 interactions, right? Anything. And that's a swag at what it usually is. Sometimes it's much higher. Obviously, crisis communication events, press conference events, those will reach 50, 100,000 in terms of interactions. But generally, we're talking to between 8,000 and 10,000 people that interact directly with that post. Over on Instagram, we know that the audience skews younger. We know that the students interact with that more. And we know the content obviously needs to be more creative, more photographic centric. And so we optimize for that. Twitter is more of a place for professional development and celebration. There is a vibrant and active education Twitter sphere in the country, in the area. And so the content's going to be a little bit different. We're going to celebrate a little bit different things. Who's on Twitter? Well, a lot of educators, every lawmaker, every member of the media, et cetera. And so we optimize for that platform for those reasons. It's a great opportunity on Twitter to interact with those specific folks in more strategic ways. So that's Twitter. And then YouTube, obviously, this will go on YouTube. YouTube serves as our repository, essentially, for everything that we produce. So we're trying some new things with NHCS Recap. I think it's a fantastic product. It's a minute and a half, 2.5 minute recap of the week, 2, 3, 4, 3, I think usually highlighted items from the previous week. The whole team does a fantastic job putting that together and getting that out. So optimizing YouTube for both as a repository, but also as an interactive place for people to come and learn about the district. Are they moving here to put their kids in school, or do they want to come here and work in the district? And so we're in the process of reorganizing the YouTube a bit as well. Next up is our website, and we'll talk a little bit more about website, I think, at the end of the presentation, because there's a lot to talk about there. Because it's not a website, it's probably hundreds of specific pages, but more specifically, it's 46 websites, right? So it's the district site plus 45 school sites. And so we want to define very specifically what, I'm going to say it, Caress. I think this could be a game. What right looks like, right, for the websites. There's an element of standardization. There's an element of branding, ADA compliance. I'm going to make up the word again, clickology, et cetera. It needs to be ease of navigation. It needs to be standardized while still celebrating and representing every school individually. And so we're working toward that as well. It's also a place where folks are going to go for a variety of reasons, to look up specific information on the school, testing, curriculum, things that they may have to dig for. We want to ensure they're not digging, and that it's intuitive. It's a place where people are going to go for updates, for weather updates, for crisis updates. And so we want to ensure that we're utilizing the website in accordance with the expectations of those stakeholders as well. We also have the ability to obviously district email to our internal staff, but that's something that we use. The internal communications plan, I would call it, is probably a different conversation for this, but we are also looking at not just ways to communicate up and out or sometimes across and down with our schools, but also very specifically looking at how to optimize internal communication for New Hanover County Schools, our employees and our internal audience there. And so we have a couple of ways to do that, and we're working to improve that constantly. And then finally, the one that I think that people would revert to just automatically and think that's all we do is the media. What we seek to establish and what we currently have, and I'm fantastically grateful for it, is a really positive and improving relationship with our media partners in this area, in this region, in this district. We have information that needs to get out in some cases, and they can certainly assist in amplifying that information. They have questions regarding situations or events or need clarification. We can supply that. And so the idea is to play it need not be negative sum game, right? And so we professionalize these relationships with the media. We provide the context where necessary, and we can play positive sum games because both benefit from the context, from the dialogue, and from, again, kind of inserting a voice where perhaps for a bit there wasn't one, because we have overlap in those stakeholders. And what this really allows, this list of things, is we're thinking about how to best use all of these. We're always seeking to improve. But what we have here essentially is also redundancy. And that's important because there's no one way to reach everyone. And this also isn't an exhaustive list either. There's a couple more tools up our sleeves. But this is kind of the main list and the things that we're thinking about and looking at. And I'll just go back for a minute without going too far down a rabbit hole. School messenger might not be us. It might not be appropriate to hear from the district. It might be from the principal. There are times when the superintendent will send out a message, and maybe the superintendent sends it to his internal audience, or maybe sends it to the entire district. Our list of contacts external to our internal audience is about 63 or 67,000 folks. So we have the ability to touch that number of folks instantly with these platforms. And that's, again, amplified again by the redundancy built into social media website and our media amplification. So I'll pause there for any questions or comments on the tools that we use.
I just had a comment, for folks too, is I think that I'm sure we'll get to this later, but back to the website, like you said, Josh, I think, and the websites as the plural, that's where we can make a big bang for our buck, because I know even I, who I think that I'm pretty versed on getting around our website, some things are hard to find. So we are hoping that you, as our family communications team, can help us with that and identify things that might be harder to find, and maybe not as intuitive as Josh has said to us. But these are all great communication tools. And if there's anything else that you guys can think of, I mean, this is pretty exhaustive, but if there's any other way that you can think that, we can get information out to families and communities, then the communications team is all ears and all eyes and ears, and ready to look and research and see how it might fit into our big overall, strategy.
Yeah, and what I'd like to add too is, in addition to just getting information out, that's a great point, Ms. Craybill, because these allow us to push out. We also want to have information coming in, and there are ways to do that. But we certainly want to hear from our stakeholders, and I mean like representative of the community. And so I know that we're working with we're working to provide information to the strategic plan that's being developed externally by those consultants. And there's a survey aspect to that. I know that there's a survey policy. We'll need to ensure compliance with the policy. We've recently met with a few other vendors that supply very quick text-based survey type things. But we're also, and I'll just introduce this thought, we are at the initial stages of looking at ways to get information coming in too, an opportunity for our audiences, stakeholders, folks in the district to provide input back to us in a way that's easy, that it's convenient for them, and that we can have some actionable information coming in to make these changes as well. So we certainly are open to feedback. I'm a fan of iteration. I'm a fan of trying things and then iterating, and that's what we have been doing. And that's what we'll continue to do, because you're never done. You never get to a place in good communication where you're like, we're done. We're not done. We'll never be done. But we're going to continue to optimize, adopt new tools, try new things, and when it doesn't work, pivot and try again. So that's how I see it. And so far, so good. So with that, Chris, next slide, please. So Chris added the Family Communication Committee goals. Folks can see them here. And Ms. Craybill, I want to give you the opportunity to either talk about these or ask, is this something that we want to attempt to redefine, or really kind of open up the conversation for, as we hit reset essentially on the Family Communications Committee? Are the goals still appropriate? Very well may need modification, but how do we best steer the committee to provide input to both the board as well as help this team optimize for the committee goals? So over to you, Ms. Craybill, for thoughts on that.
Yeah, so these goals were, and I was not on the committee when the committee was formed. So Caress, I think you're the last man standing, from the old guard. So these goals were probably very appropriate at the time, and some of them still, are appropriate to me now. But one of my thoughts moving forward was, once we get our team. Oh, I'm sorry, Bernice Johnson. Yes, you are so quiet so after I talk, you jump right in. I just want to make sure that these goals are still accurate, or maybe they can be tweaked. Like you were saying, let's optimize our tools and our strategies, to make it workable for what is relevant now. So my biggest thing, as a board member, carries over from my biggest thing as a parent. When my kids were in school, they graduated in 2010 and 2013, but just to make sure that the information, that parents get information that they need for their children to be successful at their schools, and get it timely and get it in a language that they can understand. So that goal is never going to go away, no matter how long this committee stays. And then also, just to make sure that our community, people that are still stakeholders in our school system, get the information that they need, to just understand what we're doing and to hopefully get to the point where they can support the work that we're doing. And that we don't have to have people feeling so disenfranchised or feeling like they have no other avenue but to go to a news reporter and tell a story, that they can just come straight to us and ask us for the story and feel confident that they are getting a straight shoot, on the information. And then always, looking for just better ways to tell her, keep people informed on what's going on. Our school system has so many things going on. There's no way, the bottom one, and that's what I'm coming to, the create a parent communications calendar of events. That would be Caress's whole day and into tomorrow as one day, keeping track of that calendar, because there is that much good stuff going on. But if we push that down, to the school level, and the schools keep their calendars up to date, through us, and they send their stuff to us, and we can, like you were saying, and Christina's been good at that, like resharing, what she's seeing from schools, on all of our different social media platforms. So that's kind of where I was. And so I'm hoping that there aren't a lot of people on the call right now that were on our committee, because we've had such a high turnover, on the committee. So my plans or my hopes would be that we get our application back out there and use you guys as a you guys, your team, as a way to, get that the application out there, so we can start getting people in, and then we see what they want to do. What do they think the goals are, based on what's happening in their schools, what's happening in their lives, and all that kind of stuff. So Bernice, please jump in, since you are also a parent and the president of our PTA council. Are you there, girl? I know you are, because you gave me a chat. Okay, well, she might have stepped away. So when she comes, I'm going to, I see her there, but I'll send her a text and see. We'll use all of our communication strategies.
While we're waiting on her, Ms. Crandall, I just wanted to provide a little feedback as well on the goal alignment. So I put down at the bottom first the volunteer orientation picture. So that was one of the things that came to us. You'll see in that second goal, create and implement accountability measures to assure policies and processes are followed at the school level. One of the things that we heard from different work groups that I've been in, as well as from the Family Communication Committee, is that every school had a different volunteer orientation packet, a different presentation that they were given volunteers. So one thing that we were able to do from that information we gathered from work groups and we've gathered from the Family Communication Committee, and through the work of Sandra this year so far, and as well as Christina, has been to create a volunteer orientation packet, presentation, and handbook that is aligned and universal across the district. So all of our volunteers who are coming into our schools, they are getting the same training, they're receiving the same orientation, and receive the same handbook. You're not having to worry about going to Laney and getting one version and then going down to Gregory and getting another. Part of that goal was making sure that that was a policy and procedure that came up this year. So we wanted to make sure that was accurate as well. So a lot of these goals, we've continued to work with them and to kind of move them on. I do think we could work on revamping these as we get new members, but I also think some of them are still relevant. For instance, you mentioned the calendar of events. It would take all of my day to man that. But what I have learned by I also, for our division, work on the website a little bit. And what I've come to find out is there is a whole Google account where all of the schools' calendars are housed. So by reaching out to different schools and sharing and giving them access to their own calendars, they are able to update their calendars, put their events in, and that is listed right on their website. On many of them, it's right there on their front page on their website. And as we move to unifying all of our websites, we're hoping to make sure that calendar will be present on every district school pages landing page for their. And Bernice is jumping back in.
Yeah, is she back?
She just came back in, yes.
Okay, so Bernice, I don't know how much of that you heard. Bernice her call dropped, and I apologize for that. But all of what Caress just presented is directly applicable to your function as a PTA president. And that's what I was kind of calling on Bernice to talk about, was that handbook and that unification of volunteer orientation, because it definitely was across the board. And as a substitute teacher, I saw that a lot, because just what was different. So I'm very happy that is something that our communications team feels like that is important, because it's been worked on so many other different committees, and I'm glad it's housed back with you guys again. So Bernice, if you're there, is there anything that we've talked about, or you've seen or heard, or from the other, from your interaction with PTA council or PTA unit leaders, that you'd like to add, or to this goals list?
Hello, everyone. I'm being kind of in and out, and I'm not really in a position to talk right now. Might be a little echo behind me. I apologize. But everything does look good. I did get some feedback from some parents, kindergarten parents, maybe wanting a system-wide orientation just for new parents and new kindergarten parents and new parents to our school system. And so that may be something we want to consider.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, you guys did a town hall, that this committee did a town hall. If it wasn't last year, it was the year before, for new families, just so they could come and they could learn information, almost like in a fair format. It's kind of like maybe we can have some sort of welcome wagon-ish, sort of event. And each school does that too, for kindergartners. They might not necessarily do it for new people to their school. So that might be something, that might be one of the goals that we put down in our committee, is that we work on that and develop that, and have it ready to roll out for next year, next school year, or maybe even by second semester, just in case, because some people do, actually people change schools all the time, but it might be better to focus our energies on, the beginning of next school year. But that is a good thought to jot down. Chris, are you taking notes? I'm taking some notes, but okay.
That's a fantastic point, Ms. Craybill and Ms. Johnson. Just learning a little bit more about the area specifically through the chamber and whatnot, and the projections for growth. And we've talked a little bit about this. Kindergarten, yes, but growth in general, and the incoming and continuing population explosion does necessitate our for us to really wrap our arms around and welcome new folks to the school system at every level. And so I think, as we've done with volunteerism and the volunteer program, a standard welcoming package, if you will, maybe it's aspirational, but it may be something that we can consider and as a resource to provide for the schools. And I'll also reintroduce the fact that we have, in addition to the volunteers, we helm the volunteer program, but we also have the PR coordinators in every school as well. So we recently, I think it was last week, met with the PR coordinators here in the BOE Center and just provided similar introductions, capability, kind of overview, but also help them understand best strategies to tell their stories and share celebrate their schools on their social media platforms. And I think the necessity to acknowledge, and I won't speak for all parents everywhere, but there's a desire to hear from one's school, a lot, and there's the information from the district is probably lower on the scale of immediacy for your day to day. So, the team hears me talk ad nauseum about measuring the right things. And as I mentioned, like some of this effort diverted towards supporting schools, welcoming folks, communicating appropriately, making sure they have strategies and tools and best practices and the support they need. If we can measure that, and those families are getting that information in a timely manner, navigating that website to get that kid or that student enrolled, and in a language that might not be English, now we're making progress on things that matter. And that's more important in my mind than growing our district Facebook page, right? That would be great, but I want to focus effort and resources appropriately to help everyone.
Yay.
So I think I'm not in a position to make proposals, but I do think it's an opportunity as we get new members to revisit the committee goals and what we can provide from a committee to both the board in your updates, Ms. Craybill, and also help steer the efforts of the team here.
Yeah, I agree. So I am happy with the goals that these goals as written, that we can, probably just move those over to the website now, on the board committees, side, to put that in, and then maybe just tweak that last one on the creating the parent communication calendar to kind of capture more of what Caress said, as far as commonality of calendars or links between calendars, or kind of to capture what you said you've already done, Caress. So to do that, but otherwise, I think we're kind of good to go, because the our overall goal is just to get good information flow going out and coming in. So however, and that's what our committee can help guide on. If things are working, let's stay with them. If things are not working, then let's bring that to the forefront and see what we can't do as a group or as your team, because maybe some of it is something that we can't do, you would have to do internally. But yeah, so Bernice, anything to add?
So what? No, I think you got it covered. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, Chris, next slide, please, if we're done with that one. And so we've hit the website navigation a bit. I know that there's a navigation video. I have spoken to some folks about. I think there were previous kind of assignments and due outs from this committee to go and look at how many clicks it took, et cetera, and some homework and some feedback. I will say that we're iterating the websites regularly, and as you've probably experienced painstakingly, perhaps, Ms. Craybill, it's happening and it's iterating, and it may not be expected. So we want to be mindful to not drastically change too much, while also, again, getting things more standard, more navigable, whatever the term is there. But I'll talk a little bit more just briefly about branding, page layout, unification, et cetera. And so the vision, just to reiterate, is essentially 46 pages that are well designed, that are representative of a district, while also celebrating and appropriately representing each individual school, but in a way that's standard, in a way that you can get to the appropriate forms, that you can get to the curriculum, that you can get to the contact information, that it's updated, that the photos are standardized, that nothing's stretched, it's professionalized. And so, that's, you can use large organizations, large successful organizations with good communication protocols and programs. You have this, right? You don't have, I use car examples a lot, or, I can use the military, the Marine Corps example. The car is probably better because, but, Ford, Tesla, pick a vehicle. You don't get to, just because you're geographically far flung, you don't change the entire branding layout of that institution, right? There's a voice, there's a brand, there's an element of professionalism, there's high quality photography, there's high quality logos. And so it's kind of that 5% rule where we want to really get in, and with the assistance, obviously, of the school webmasters, or the school web administrators, who we also work with, but really help propel this and propel it fairly quickly to a way that's more uniform, standardized, and representative of the excellent district that we're trying to represent online here. And so that's the goal. And then how we're going to get there, again, is not through a single web administrator, who we might bring on to our team. That would be helpful, but instead of one person laboriously working through 50 websites for the rest of their life, we want to scale. And by scale, I mean, we're training our team we're purchasing some training for the website organization. It's called Final Site, to be able to say we have 4 people or 5 people able to go into 5 sites simultaneously, 2 hours a week. Well, now we've updated, the splash page of 5 websites, and we do that for 5 weeks. We've been able to scale and get this done in a shorter period of time with each other. So I'm all about scaling opportunities and ways to do this, not because it's fast, but because it's efficient. But that's kind of the goal that I have for standardization, brand unification, and high quality standards with regard to especially the visual elements. No one likes stretched photographs. I'm not pointing any fingers, like stretched or grainy or suboptimal photography or videography. There's, so we can fix that. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to fix that. We're going to standardize that. And we're going to celebrate and represent the schools and their colors and their mascots and their people and their kids and their students and their staff and their counselors, but also in a way that's cohesive and representative of the district as a whole. So I'll pause there.
So if anybody from any school that is looking to perhaps get one of their cool pictures on the scrolling website, what do they do? Do they contact do they contact Christina to do that?
That's a great question. I think for individual schools at this point, I don't think we're operating at that level of granularity yet. I think that would be a school web administrator thing.
Okay.
It's certainly something that we could override, but we also want to give the appropriate autonomy to the folks that have the additional duty of updating those websites. We just want to provide that support and a bit of oversight. So I think with that, Ms. Crable, they could go to the individual school, but also just bring it back to, I keep saying celebrate and I mean all. And so we attempt to be, and I think that there's, I can improve on the process here, but I want to be strategic in literally getting to all at the district level, represent all schools, all students. And so we have a fairly large microphone with our social media and with our media partners, or ensure we're inviting them to schools that may not have had or been highlighted recently. And so we want to do that in a way that's systematic and appropriate and celebratory of the entire district.
So I'm sorry, to clarify, Stephanie, are you asking about the slider on our homepage for the district?
Yes.
Okay, so that Chris can speak to this better, but all of those photos are tied to content. So, it may be like an announcement about enrollment and we choose a photo that's representative of that.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So it wouldn't be just, we like this photo.
Hey, got this good picture. Yeah.
Maybe it used to be that way, but at this point, all of our front page photos are tied to related content. But for the schools, we have been going in and updating some of their slider photos. So like if I go out to a school for an event or to cover something and I get some good sort of stock photos and they don't currently have one on their site, then we have been going in and kind of adding a few, just like Josh said, to sort of standardize, professionalize, make the individual schools pages look a little bit more engaging.
Yeah, and that's because we're doing so many good things that we just don't think to brag on ourselves, on all the good stuff, and yet good stuff, and it doesn't have to be huge stuff. Little stuff is good stuff. Huge stuff is good stuff. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So yeah, thank you for that help to the schools.
Okay, anything else on the website?
Oh, that navigation video, is that on the front page of the website?
That is actually going to be located under the family and parent tab. So under that, it'll be a link. It says new to NHCS. And on that new to NHCS page, in addition to a lot of information for our new families, at the top of that page is that website navigation video. And that is something, again, that came from the Family Communication Committee last year around this time, where they did express that families were having a hard time navigating the website and figuring out where things were. So we created that video. I'm sure now would be a great time to maybe even update that video as we are working on a lot of these standardizations.
Yeah, because I did it when you first had it out there. It still is a little confusing But and it could just be me because I am not that technologically literate as I could be. But and I would say that not just, not to focus that on just new families, because there's a lot of maybe new families to using the website. That not every family, just because you hear us all the time, well, it's posted on our website. Well, and people think that they're done, but they're really not done. So a lot of people, don't know how to use our website just because they never have. So that might be something that we can do if nothing else, as we can ask, school principals and their parent support organizations, maybe to run that, at a PTA meeting or a PTO meeting or a family communications night that they might have. Because not all schools have parent support organizations, unfortunately, but all schools do have, a principal that will have a meeting with families that could show that, because that just might be another like sort of preemptive, not move, but preemptive, strategy action step that we can take, just so everybody does know how to use the school system website, which would eventually move down to their school website. Same. But yeah, so I have looked at that before, but I just didn't know if this was a new one.
Yeah, no, I think it's certainly, as we've made quite a few updates, and so I think it's probably worth revisiting. I think I don't know that we can answer it right at this moment.
Yeah, I'm not expecting it.
Yeah, once we're if we're playing the game up on plane with where the website's going to be, I think it's absolutely appropriate to update that video, because the hope would be other sites are going to be very similar in their navigation. So
right.
Okay. Next slide, and I think that is really it for this, right, Chris? Okay, so Ms. Crable, that's what I had. Thanks for the opportunity again to introduce the team and talk about all that we've been able to do in a short period of time. It's been great. It's been very rewarding. So, but I'll turn it over to you for thoughts, questions, or for the group for do outs.
So I thought this was great. This was so informative to me, and I really would like to see if at some point then we can get you guys on a board agenda, so to do, because I mean, you talked maybe like 40 minutes. It wasn't that long, but there are things that you could shorten out, in a board meeting, if you were interested in doing that, because I just think the more we tell people and communicate to people about how to communicate, the better off we are, so that people, everybody knows with that. And I did want to come back, Chris, could you speak to the document that you put into the chat for us? The Google Doc.
So, and I will share my screen again, and then I will also put this, a link to this in the Family Communication Committee agenda notes, which can be found on Assembly for everyone. But we are taking questions and comments. We love to hear from those of you who are watching, either watching at home live now, or if you're watching later, tomorrow, next week, whenever. This will be a Google Doc that will be up, and give me just a second and I will share my screen.
Yeah, that'd be awesome, because then people can like scroll right to it.
Yeah. Let's see.
And while you're doing that, I know we always sort of put minutes on to look at, but I'm just thinking that minutes from February, aren't even really that applicable, at this point in time. I mean, I can do a little quick summary on what we did. What we were working on before pandemic was, going through the website and practicing with it on our phones and on our iPads and on our computers, just to see where the glitches are. But I don't know that we need to necessarily, be real tight on that project right now, as you guys are already making, some updates. So Josh and team, what do you think about that? Sort of like holding off on going back into that, because that was the big project that we were working on, other than conducting, our town hall meetings. I would love to have some more public forums, town halls. I know that your department is working on that. I would like for that to be one of, that's back to that goal. I think that should be one of our goals as well, to have more public sharing, kind of forums. So wherever we add that into our goals. I just thought about that now as I'm talking out loud, like to myself.
No, I think it's fantastic. I would encourage us to, seek additional participation for this
Yes.
committee, to hear additional voices, to get additional feedback in terms of where we're going, not just for goals, but for best practices. I love to think that we've got our arms wrapped around all of the communication needs of all of our various stakeholders. But I know that that's not entirely accurate. And so it takes hearing and learning, and then iterating and optimizing for things that we might not know about. And so I think we need additional input and voices and the opportunity to improve.
Great. Okay. All right. So now we've got Cress has got her family communications survey up.
Yep. And it's just quick and easy. We just want to email, see who you are, and then 2 simple questions. What is your question about the Family Communications Committee? If it's not for the Family Communications Committee specifically, what is your question about the Communications and Outreach Division? And I am just going to walk everyone through right now where you will be able to locate this. We talked about the website and navigating that. So where you're going to go is Board of Education, Board Meetings and Agenda. That will take you over to Assembly, where all of our board agenda and meetings are housed. And you'll see the Family Communications Agenda and Minutes for 9/16. You just click on that link.
We have a helper with us.
We do. And then that's a look at our agenda. And you'll also be able to see the presentation that Josh just gave. That will be there as well. And right under that presentation, I will link that survey for everyone as well. So again, just go to the district website, click on Board of Education, Board Meeting and Agendas, and then find that the agenda for the Family Communications meeting on 9/16. And that's where all that information will be.
Awesome. Okay, so I was just glancing at that agenda again. It looks like the minutes are at the end, but I already did my minutes, thoughts. So I don't have anything more. Bernice, did you have anything more that you wanted to add, or I guess we'll just start recruiting people. What I'll do for this committee at our next board meeting, which is on Tuesday, I'll make a committee report on our behalf to have people, show them how to do that. Go, oh my gosh, you've got 2 helpers there tonight. We'll go through that in a very brief report so that more people will hear and be able to come and listen to what we did tonight. You send them to the YouTube and to your presentation. We'll get all of our communications rolling, in that one update. But I just want to thank you guys so much for Cynthia. I didn't even you're a parent and a teacher. Do you have any comments or input? You've been so quiet the whole meeting.
Oh goodness, I am so not a teacher. No, I am a child nutrition manager over at Blair.
That's okay. You're
also a parent.
So that is so important.
Yeah, I've got between me and my 3 children, we are in 3 completely different schools. So the only good part about having twins is at least they stay put in the same school at the same time. So
that's helpful. So any of the stuff that we've talked about tonight, that is I won't say is relevant because it's all relevant to you, but does anything stick out for you?
Well, I was super excited to hear about the volunteering opportunities and how it's now the same across the district. That I can't even begin to tell you. I remember saying last year how Trask would come out with a communication, Eden would come out, and all the schools would come out, and I would get it from the district. And so I would hear the message and then get it 3 completely different ways on the schools. So to know that, we're taking the appropriate steps to make sure that things are the same throughout the district is, I can't even tell you how wonderful that is. It is definitely a step in the right direction. And of course, going forward with doing more things in that nature, like I know Bernice had mentioned about, the PTA in the kindergarten. And you know what, as a parent with 3 kids, that would have been insanely helpful when my son was coming into kindergarten and I was new to the district and I didn't know anything. And now thinking about it, we have so many new residents coming to the area. It would be helpful, probably 2 different groups, one for rising kindergartners and another for just new to the district.
Yeah, I agree. And then that was one thing that I thought I had heard also too, that Chris, I'm sure you've got this in your notes already, that we did hear this, and Cynthia, maybe it was you that told us this back in February, was that, and from some of our other teacher employee members of this committee, that they oftentimes got maybe not conflicting, but a little bit different messages as an employee as than they did as a parent, and it came out in a different, different time, time range. So, and obviously some things with employees are going to have a little bit of a different slant because they're geared towards employees, but a parent and an employee should not be getting two different information things if it really, is affecting their children, and their school. So yeah, thank you for that input.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, okay, well, thank you so much for doing that. And thank you for joining with us. And I hope you're going to be staying with us. We won't, if you're interested, we won't make you reapply. But maybe we will, because we have to get all of our forms all up to date. But thank you for taking the time to join with us after, a hard day at work with your kiddos. So if nothing else, I think we're good. Thank you so much to Josh and Sandra and Christina and Caress and Kevin and Russell and Chase. Did I get everybody? You guys are awesome. You're doing so much for ours, and appreciate you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Crable. Appreciate the opportunity.
All righty. Good night, everyone.
All right. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.